I'm back. Before you dive into this video, please hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, show me some support. Let's talk about Noah. I'm going to use Wikipedia again, and I'm going to dive into this further. Bear in mind, guys, that this is for educational purposes. You can look all these things up yourselves. If you never heard that Noah, okay, Noah of the flood story from the Bible is the same person as Sui Sudra. They'll get into that right now, but first, let me talk about Noah. As we know in the Bible, okay, Noah is known as this righteous man of God, and he so happens to be the one that was warned by God, a nameless God, that there would be a flood coming, and so he told them how to make an ark. So let's go to the narrative of the flood. All right, so right here in the Bible says, God found one righteous man, which is Noah, and to him he confided his intention. I'm about to bring on the flood to eliminate everywhere all flesh in which there is breath of life. Just bear in mind that they're making it seem like God is the one saying all this stuff. So God instructed him to build an ark. Now this same, it's a God telling uh, Noah to build an ark because there's a pending flood that will last for a long time. I'm just going to show you guys that this same story comes from a much older story where writing was first discovered, which of course was ancient Mesopotamia. Once again. So you guys can see I'm not, making all this up. I'm showing you using Wikipedia, but you can find all these things yourselves. There's some differences when you realize how, for instance, let me give you an example. The flood lasts for 40 days and 40 nights according to the Bible, right? But the Genesis, which is way before the Bible Genesis, of course, it's 7 days and 7 nights. But anyways, what's more important is that I'm trying to show you that Noah himself was a king. But they don't tell you that he was a king, all right? Like I just mentioned earlier, that I believe that Noah is the same person called Sui Sudra. It's the same person, all right? He was the king of Sharupak. That's a city of ancient Mesopotamia. And he was known as the last king. Now, once again, the differences between Sui Sudra and Noah, they're the same people. The only difference is some things were changed. Like him being a king of a city. Perhaps they didn't want you to know that, being a king of a city of Mesopotamia would mean that he served Mesopotamian gods, right? Or am I wrong? And then, right, you can clearly see as I'm with the little arrow here. All right. And other names for Noah were Utapishtim, Astrahasis, and of course, as I just said, Sui Sudra. All of these names are the same person as Noah. It's the same person, only different names. Just like Daniel, who had a different name when he was in Babylon, right? Just like when Jacob became Israel. Just when Joseph of Egypt, son of Jacob, became known as Zaphanaah Paneah, a name that, of course, does not exist, but you get the point, that they changed their name somehow, some way. And it's just funny how when you try to point these facts out to some people, they get upset and they assume that the biblical account is much older than this account, which of course is not true, because the Mesopotamian account of the flood is the original story. And like I said, it's the same person. The only difference is it passed down from a different culture, so now the name changes. Just like over time, as you go to introduce into another culture, the same thing happens. The name changes, although they are the same gods. Some people may agree with me and some people may not, and that's fine. Purposes, you can choose to believe or you can disbelieve, is up to you. Now let's go to the Genesis. Going back to the Genesis flood narrative. As I just said to you guys, that God instructed him to build an ark, right? Blah 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 blah. You get the point. Now let's go see the Mesopotamian story, the Eridu Genesis. All right, here it says, before the gods have decided to send a flood to destroy humanity. Enki, I'm sure many of you guys do not know who Enki is, and I will explain in a second. But let me just read this for you guys first. God of the underworld, sea of fresh water, and equivalent of Babylonian air, warns Suisudra, there you go again, that's Noah, the ruler of Shuruppak, to build a large boat, though the direction for the boat are also lost. Now check this out, guys. The part where when the flood is over and all that stuff, what does Noah does when the flood is over? Pretty much the same thing you see here. So right here, look. So as he's coming out of the boat, the huge boat had been tossed about on the great waters. Then Utu, that's the sun god, appears, and Suisudra opens a window, prostrates himself, and sacrifices an ox and a sheep. Now that sounds like the same as Noah. Right? When after the flood, Noah comes out and he supposedly sacrifices to God, although it does not tell you the name of the God, even though it's Yahweh, because that's a name that was used way before 300 BC. Because after 300 BC, the name Yahweh was no longer used. I don't know if that means perhaps a change in the guard, where people change from the servant, worshiping, and instead they use the term El and Baal. Now it's funny because when you also mention that part of how they introduced that into the Bible, because El, if you guys really look deeper into it, is the god from Canaan, El. And they try to tell us that El stands for Elohim, but it really does not, when it really trying to tell you that it belongs to El, the primary god of Canaan. And then Baal, whose name means either owner or lord. In English, as you guys can see, El becomes God and Lord comes from Baal, right? Which could possibly mean that the worship of Yahweh was changed in 300 BC into the worship of El and his son Baal. Now, of course, some people will be like, preposterous, how can this be? It's not possible. Look it up, guys. Just like when Jacob became Israel, right? He became Israel for a reason. It wasn't just because they told him, or rather God told him, oh no, you're just going to change your name to this and that's it, but it's me still. No, his name changed to Israel, telling you that his name bears the name of his God, which is El. We'll get into that more.